Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner, a first question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network.
But it was a complete, absolute dumpster fire for the former president. I don't feel the need to give him any credit for showing up there because he came with a terrible attitude. He hit all of his regular hits, lying about his record for Black Americans.
You know, this is, I just want to back up for a second here.
Liberal Fox News commentator Jessica Tarlov shredded convicted felon Donald Trump after he publicly unraveled earlier today at a convention for the National Association of Black Journalists as her MAGA co-host tried desperately to defend Trump's blunders. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we have several clips to talk about in this video. Some of them are wildly unhinged. Of course, I'm referring to Trump's clips. The entire appearance was awful by Trump, one of his worst public performances in memory, and it has a lot of competition. But we're going to start with a couple of clips to provide context before we move into the post-mortem by liberal Fox News commentator Jessica Tarlov and her MAGA supporting co-host Martha McCallum. Let's start with this one here. This clip I'm about to play you is the very first question Donald Trump was asked at the convention for the National Association of Black Journalists, and this was his very first answer.
Your time. I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabid to describe Black district attorneys. You've attacked Black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking Black supporters to vote for you, why should Black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner, a first question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit.
And shouldn't have to answer tough but perfectly fair questions. Yikes, not a great response from Donald Trump. Give you another clip as well, because both of these clips are referenced in the subsequent postmortem between Jessica Tarlov and Martha McCallum.
Then we'll move on to other questions here. Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first Black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a
literally
definition
the
then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition.
Sir,
of
I'm
that.
asking you a question,
No,
a
you
very
have to
direct
define
question.
It. Define it for me, if you would.
I just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a Black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much, and she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was Black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn Black, and now she wants to be known as Black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she Black?
She is always...
She probably comes from a multiracial background and very strange stuff. Very strange and unhinged stuff from Donald Trump. But again, it provides the necessary context for the clips I'm about to show you. So in the aftermath of that disastrous appearance by Donald Trump at the convention for the National Association of Black Journalists, Jessica Tarlov sparred with Martha McCallum about that appearance. And this is what Jessica Tarlov had to say initially.
My reaction is that it was a complete, absolute dumpster fire for the former president. I don't feel the need to give him any credit for showing up there because he came with a terrible attitude. He hit all of his regular hits, lying about his record for Black Americans. The comparison saying he's done the most for the Black community since Abraham Lincoln is obviously ridiculous. Unemployment is lower for Black Americans under Joe Biden than Donald Trump. Everybody knows that. Even Donald Trump knows that. People have told him. He just won't stop. I thought that he was rude and offensive to the questioners. I don't think, in response to what Joe was saying, that asking him, for instance, about calling Kamala Harris a DEI hire is going into debate mode. This is who his opponent is, and then his response that she used to be Indian and is now somehow Black was offensive no matter.
So we'll get into Martha McCallum's response because she desperately and stupidly tries to defend Trump on this score. But a couple of things. So I agree it was also a dumpster fire. I doubt it's going to do Trump any favors with the electorate, especially with the momentum, fundraising and polling already at the vice president's back. If anything, this is going to lend itself well, I imagine, to numerous campaign ads and a media blitz from the vice president's social media team. With that in mind, I do think it's important that Jessica is fact-checking Donald Trump on his lies. Donald Trump has not been the best president for the Black community since Abraham Lincoln, even though he says it. The fact of the matter is that by the vast majority of macroeconomic metrics, including for the Black community, President Biden is a more accomplished president than Donald Trump. Black unemployment's lower. Black business startup is higher under President Biden than Donald Trump. HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities, have had by far greater fundraising and funding from President Biden and Vice President Harris than they ever did under Donald Trump. And by the way, Donald Trump literally tried to zero out HBCU funding, but was defeated by Democrats in Congress when he was president of the United States. So again, the facts are not on his side. He's simply a liar. Martha McCallum, by the way, will not want to address any of that. And let's get into her response, her defense of Donald Trump in the clips you just saw.
Color
we all
of your
know.
skin.
All right, look, she has an Indian mother and a Jamaican father.
Right,
I don't know
she's
why we
Black.
have to.
But
She has an Indian mother and a Black father. So those are two different backgrounds. You know, this is. I just want to back up for a second here. They made the former president wait, I think, 45 minutes. They were having some sort of audio problem. Then he sits down and he can't hear Harris at the other end of the stage. They put him into a situation, you know, we all know how thrown off you can get when you can't hear what's going on in this kind of situation. The opening question was very hostile, unnecessarily so. So, you know, when you have someone come in to
the whining from these MAGA conservative snowflakes. I want you all to imagine an alternate universe in which President Biden appeared at a convention, was asked a tough but fair question, and reacted this way. Would Fox be making excuses for President Biden? No, of course not. They would say, you're the sitting president of the United States. You want to be president again. You are expected to handle high pressure situations. You should be able to answer tough but fair questions. Why are you whining? Why are you lashing out at the reporters? They would be taking the exact opposite approach here because they're unprincipled, hypocritical losers who should be relentlessly mocked for their double standard. You made him wait. He couldn't hear someone on the other side of the stage who wasn't asking a question at the time. You're asking tough questions about things he's said and done and says he wants to do again. How dare you? Clutching her pearls, pathetic performance from Martha McCallum, almost as bad as the convicted felon, adjudicated rapist, adjudicated fraudster himself in that respect. This is Jessica Tarlov's response.
Well, I think that what the questioners were transposing was the sentiment that a majority of Black Americans feel towards former President Donald Trump. This is somebody whose overtures to the Black community have consisted of things like, you know, I'm in the sneaker business and they'll love that. Or I have more convictions now. Now that I'm a felon, maybe Blacks will like me more. So I understand the standoffishness, and I think it's great that he went and did it and that people could see it unfiltered, how he actually thinks about these issues, how he thinks about his own record, how he talks about other Black Americans. That's all crucial for this audience to see, and it will be projected far and wide.
Why do you think, let me ask Joe this, why do you...
So I agree with Jessica Tarlov. I think that this is going to be very damaging to his campaign. I'm not saying that this will cost him the election because, again, 3 months is an eternity. But every little bit of Donald Trump, revealing who he really is to the American people and reminding them of that fact, especially when, regrettably, we are so inclined as a society to try to forget everything about Trump and to grade him on a curve. These little reminders will, I think, go a long way as long as we make use of them to remind the American people that this guy is an idiot. He is sexist. He's a racist. He's a moron. He's pathetic. He is worse in all possible ways. And the country will be better off in the hands of Vice President Kamala Harris. It would be interesting to see how the vice president herself responds to this, because she's supposed to also be speaking at the National Association of Black Journalists Convention. I think she'll be doing it virtually. But again, there's a really good opportunity here for the Harris campaign to make political hay of this, and they should. What a disastrous Hindenburg tier explosion of a performance by Donald Trump. Jessica Tarlov was right on the money, per usual. And Martha McCallum and the rest of the Trump loyalists at the Fox Propaganda Network, which is 99.9% of them, are simply unable. They are not capable of spinning this in a favorable light for Trump, as best you see here. Let me know what you think in the comments.